Springboks squad for the Rugby Championship. I've had a tinker. That seems to be what Rusty is doing. He is pretty much set to tinker with his squad more than anybody else. I think more than the All Blacks, the Pumas, or the Wallabies will do. He's pretty much committed to playing two different teams on tour, so he's called it an A and B team for want of better words, even though there's no real B team if it's your national team, but that's what it is. So we're going to see very different lineups from week to week. I've gone ahead and picked 23. It's assuming people are fit, and it's definitely not the best 23, but it's one that I would like to see get a run, just so we can get a feeling for how ready or not these guys are, what are their combinations like, and what not. So yeah, I've picked a 23. You guys let me know your thoughts, and also what your 23 might be when I'm done. As I said, Rassi is going to change things up a fair bit, but let's have a look at what I've got here. Front row, I have gone with Mtawira, Marks, and Vincent Koch. I initially had Malherba because in terms of pure scrummaging, I think he's your guy. Like, he concedes fewer penalties than any other South African tight head as far as I'm aware. So he is reliable, but if you're going to call over Koch from overseas, give him a run and see how he goes. The Beast, he only played 9 games, so he could use a bit of game time. He's reliable, and he's your number one run meter getter, I think, for props. Perhaps not per run. I think Gilboka has more meters per run, but the Beast got a pretty high work rate. He makes lots of runs. And Marks is just your number one guy, so give him a game. The second row is it's not a problem, it's a good problem to have because they got loads of choices who are legit. I have gone with Mostert and Snyman in my second row. Mostert, I think when he's in combo with Marks, that lineout looks a lot safer, and the guy's got a phenomenal work rate. He does not do much in the way of flashy stuff, but he tackles all day long, and as I said, lineout is secure. Snyman is also good in the lineout, but he just adds a lot with his ball handling. It's amazing. He's almost like having another playmaker on the field if you've got that. So two guys that I think complement each other very well. You got a kind of core role and then that bit of flash. So I think that's an interesting combo. I mean, you think about the guys who that leaves out of the second row, though, is just how crazy that South African depth is for that position. The back row, I think Marcel Coetzee has been called. I loved that guy when he was in Super Rugby. I've seen him playing for Ulster. He's top class when fit. Put him at the open side. He can play pretty much anywhere in the back row as well. So put him as your fetcher. He does that exceptionally well. Put Quokka Smith at number 8. He is probably too small to get chosen for number 8 for South Africa, but at test level. At Super Rugby, you got to give his form a reward. So give him a crack. If it proves that he can't handle test rugby, then so be it. But give the guy a chance because he has earned it. I mean, if you got to put Vermeulen in there, then that's fine. You know Vermeulen's there, but give Quokka Smith a shot. And put Khaleesi in on the blind side. He is a fit. I think he's not going to be fit. But if fit, he adds a lot of punch to that side. And that's a pretty fine looking back row, I think. There's a lot of choices there as well. Definitely other guys who could have got a look in. And backs, I put Kobus Reinach in at number 9 because we know Faf de Klerk is class and you know what he's going to do. So there's not any need to play him. He'll definitely get game time. But I want to see how Reinach goes. He needs to build that combo with Pollard, who I put at 10, because if Reinach is going to be the guy, imagine if Faf gets injured before the World Cup, who's your second guy? If it is going to be Reinach, then build that combo now, see how they go, see how it works. Just get that ball rolling now. Midfielder is probably the hardest question to answer for the Springboks, but I've gone with Esterhuizen and I wanted to keep that combo going from the Sharks. I've said it before and I said it again. I feel like they can get better at international level. It's just not clicked yet, but I think it can. Esterhuizen needs to decide what his game is going to be because he does do a bit of crash and bash. Sometimes he needs to get his playmaking going on as well. We will see what happens. Back 3, I've gone with Willy Larue at fullback. He's like an extra playmaker and very smart. I've put Colby on the left wing. That guy deserves a game because he's phenomenal in France and he's phenomenal for the Springboks, so he definitely needs to play. And for the right wing, I've gone with Nkosi. I was tempted by many wingers from South Africa. Their numbers are all fairly similar in terms of their stats. I don't think there was one that was that much more outstanding than the rest, so I have gone with Nkosi there. In terms of the bench, I've got Mbonambi, who I think is a legit second choice. Hooker, I think he gets a bit of unfair press, but I think he's a very good player. I don't have a problem with putting him there. I know a lot of people would prefer Aka van der Merwe, but he didn't even retain his top spot at the Sharks, so I think without that game time, he's kind of a hard one to justify. He's not even in the squad, so you can't pick him. But Schalk Brits is the other choice. I think realistically you go in Mbonambi. I've also gone with Inyakane and Gqoboka as the two props. Inyakane is very experienced. Gqoboka is not. And they bring different things. Like Inyakane has probably the best tackling stats of all the tight heads in South Africa. He makes more tackles, I think, not by much, but he makes more than like Dutoy. So put him in because he's very secure, very stable, and put Gqoboka in because he is dynamic. He will get you those run meters. So I think they kind of complement each other well as well. I put Etzebeth on the bench because can you just imagine that guy coming on after sitting there angry for 60 minutes that he hasn't been playing? Yeah, he's gonna cause some pain. Like you don't usually think of a lock as the guy that you bring on to cause pain to the opposition, but do it with Etzebeth. Francois Lowe for my backup. Loose forward, that guy can fetch, he can play, he's pretty versatile, so I put him on. I put Herschel Yankees on the bench as well because he is the form Super Rugby 9 from South Africa. So again, Faf de Klerk doesn't need to play. Save him for later. This is just give these guys a go and see how they go. Give Herschel Yankees a go to reward a bit of that form. I put Frans Steyn in on the bench. He can cover 10 in a pinch, but I'm probably hoping Pollard plays 80 to be fair. He can cover the midfield. He can cover fullback, I suppose. And I've also gone with Apiwa Dianti on the bench. He can cover the midfield in a pinch, but realistically, I got Steyn there for that coverage, and he can move to the wing if needs be. He probably did have the best like run meter stats for the South African wingers, but I didn't feel like he had his best season, so he still deserves to be in the squad. But he only sneaks in on the bench. I could have had Creel as well, who can cover midfield and the outside back spots too, but I've gone with Dianti in this case. If I'd gone by stats alone, believe it or not, I probably should have gone with Dylan Lades. And Dylan Lades can cover a ton of positions as well, but I couldn't quite bring myself to do it. His defensive stats are not very good, but all his attacking stats are very solid. Couldn't bring myself to pick Elton Yankees. I checked his stats to make sure I wasn't just getting on the South African bandwagon of giving Elton grief, because I know he gets a lot. He does have very good like passing stats, better than the other South African 10s. And his line break assists are number 1 for South African 10s, but everything else was pretty average. So I thought, we'll give Frans Steyn a go as the backup. And I also left out Kitsoff. Kitsoff is fine. If you bring in Kitsoff, you know what you're going to get. So this is why I'm just giving Gqoboka a go. I think it'll be Mtawira and Kitsoff at the World Cup. But hey, I just wanted to see Gqoboka in that green. So yeah, that's a 23. As I said, pretty experimental. I would like to see what Rassi's going to do because I think he's going to experiment with some stuff as well. Definitely some guys will play themselves into a Springbok jersey for the World Cup. There will probably be some guys who play themselves out of that spot, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. You guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.